Hello, everyone. Today is Unhappy July 4th Day. This is the day that the children of Israel were officially held captive to the children of Satan, Lucifer, and placed wholly and solely under the last dominion of demonic rule. What I am happy to say is that we now live in a time where we are actively witnessing the removal of power over the human agents of those those entities that they've served. And I've been speaking in all of my presentations here that we also are living in a time when we are seeing the effects of the binding of Satan. And what does that mean? That doesn't mean that he has been made unalive. It just means that his ability to lord over the world has been completely removed. And I have submitted and will continue to do so until otherwise proven that I believe that he is actually removed from the planet. I believe that when Three-Eye Atlas entered our atmosphere, Three-Eye Atlas did not come along alone. It came with an armada. It came with a routine of other ships or other agencies. There were a total of what they called 7 comments. They haven't said anything else about them. You should notice that since last year, after not last year, this year, last year into this year, that they are really quiet about Three-Eye Atlas. They are offering no updates. They are saying nothing about those other comments, which was a total of 7 altogether. They are saying nothing about that at all. And as a matter of fact, it's almost as if it had not happened. That was just some type of figment of our imagination, not worthy of discussion or even updating. You would think by now that they would have at least given us another update. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll do another untruth that they'll give. But there is a couple of things that has been brought to light that I want to speak about on this unholy day. Is that the first thing that I want to bring to light is that there is talk out there, and it's not widespread. It's almost like a rumor, so to speak, that is not elaborated on. So it discusses that Three-Eye Atlas. Some suggest that Three-Eye Atlas is still in our solar system, and that is actually behind the sun itself, which is huge, if that be true. And then the second thing that is coming to light now, more and more, I've been seeing it online. I'm trying to actually find it, but the thing is that there is an old school type of movie reel of showing parts of the battle or the destruction of the old world of Tartaria. It says that it was something that was stolen out of the Vatican, and that it was put online. But it sounds like it was started off as something that was a video that was going around, not to everyone, but to a certain number of people, and that someone actually put it online. But it almost looks like a 1950s movie, but older than that. And there's something about it that rings true. And of course, the battle itself shows what we would call today as UFOs, different aerial structures or aerial, for lack of a better term, planes of different shapes and sizes going after each other, but primarily hitting the earth. They were destroying structures and things like look like mountains and structures that look similar to the buildings that remain of Tartaria, like the Capitol buildings that you'll find in every state in this nation, in the United States of America, or as some say, ununited, which is truly has been. So what do I want to say about that? Ultimately, with the changing of the sun that has gone from yellow to white hot, and it actually looks like it's closer to the planet, or we are closer to it, or maybe it's bigger due to the interaction it had with 3i Atlas that ended up blowing literally holes in it, seems to be. And as well as the dismal failure of NASA to actually give a truthful answer or even a good lie. They weren't even able to pull that off. I guess the Most High would not let them know, would not allow them to do that. And also, too, that CERN's has been turned off again at this appointed time, and that there are rumors going around that what they have seen is what's about to happen to them. I guess they can look into the future, and I believe that because there are certain what we have been going through that the Most High had already set its beginning, but also the creators of the universe set the ending. So they knew from the beginning to the end of what happened to this time period that Satan would reign. So it makes all the sense of the world that if they have already set it in, that at some point his children would be able to see what that end looked like. And so, yes, I do believe that they know exactly how Armageddon unfolds. If not all of it, they know enough of it to know that they will lose the ruling power that they have been able to hold since 1776. And another thing that the Most High enlightened me on regarding all this information that is now coming out that I want to tell you for your consideration is that the revolution, the American Revolution, may have been one big fat untruth. Hear me out for a moment. What I mean by that is that the quote unquote founding fathers of this nation did not do it in battle, that the battle had already taken place without the involvement of the European, and that after that battle had taken place, then the Europeans were allowed to come over here to a demolished world that was once inhabited by our foremothers and forefathers. You see, I think they just rolled up in here and they were able to take over because the people who could have mounted a defense were already gone. Either they were unalived or they escaped out into the into space, into another, either living out in space, maybe living on Mars, maybe even living on the moon or on another planet, or they just been hanging out on the outer rim. But for the most part, it could have also been that that the Most High let them know that this battle was coming, and that what we call Tartaria would be dissolved, and that the ones who did not sin against the Most High would have to leave, And so that battle was between demons and the humans here who were possibly still perfect, And there's evidence in that, in the way that these buildings were made. There are tools and objects that bespeak of hands that have had to been perfect in order in their construction. And there's I know that like there's in China, there's also here in North America of these spheres that that do not show any imperfection. Like the geometry of them, the mathematics is perfect, and nothing in America that has been built it even approaches it. And as a matter of fact, many of these relics and artifacts, including the Capitol buildings that are spotted throughout the United States, these people can't recreate that. They can't recreate the majesty and the exactness of these buildings. Even like the Washington Mall. Now, of course, this the president right now is demolishing half of that. They can tear it down, but they can't recreate it. You see, so so what this speaks of is that the story that we have been given about Adam and Eve and how that the spotlight was on that is another thing that I'm going to be diving into, because there is a different creator for Adam and Eve versus the creator of black people, the first creation of the male and female. And there's a wording in there that we need to focus on. So in the first creation, it talks about gods, or Elohim is the original translation, making the black man and the black woman separately. Male and female, they made them. But when you get down to the Adam and Eve creation, what I noticed in some of the translations, I'll go over them, it says, then the Lord God. So the other one says Elohim, and then this one specifies for Adam and Eve's creation is that it was a specific higher being that actually did it. And my question is, who is the Lord God? Because that's not what the first creation, how they were termed. The first creation were termed Elohim, or and in some of the mistranslations says God, but then but when you read on, it refers to it had to be more than one supernatural being that was in the operation of the creation of the original man and the original woman. You see, and so whoever that Lord God was conducting an experiment that I submit to you may have been authorized. And so, and why I'm saying that is because eventually Satan went up against the Elohim, the creators of this universe, and got his ass whooped. Okay, but they allowed him to come in and rule the world, and that trickles down, or is a direct line to whatever that war is of Tartaria. You see. And so we don't, we don't know the full story of that. We're going to know the full story of that. It is said that the Vatican has that information, like the tape that got out, the gentleman who actually brought out that reel of what seems to be that battle, the final moments of that battle before, during 1776, and that it had nothing to do with the founding fathers of this horrific nation, that they weren't even a part of it, that the Vatican has been hiding that and everything else. See, all of that is going to come to the fore. And I submit to you that the very history and the very things that we think we know have been skewed, and we haven't been given the truth, which means we've been given a lie, and people have beget to believe that lie. So maybe the truth is that these white folks never came and conquered anything, that it was already dissolved. They were allowed then, and I'm talking about the European, from all the nations that came over here, Spain, England, Germany, even Ireland, all those people that came over who were white, they walked into a nation that was pretty much open to them. You know what? Something tells me that they probably didn't even fire one shot. If anything, with their guns, with their little pea guns and with their little cannon fire, was probably just whatever little, well, scatterings of our ancestors that were around, who still had that fighting spirit in them, and said that they would fight into their last breath. They were fighting with nowhere near any of the manumissions that they had prior to the allowance of these Europeans to come in by Satan. Satan's children came into a country that had already been through warfare, had already been, had already been, I guess had already lost the battle. Or maybe what the Most High just brought to my mind right now is that it wasn't so much as them losing the battles, that they knew that Satan was going to take over this part of the world, all these worlds as well, and they were probably maybe just trying to fight to get out of here, especially if they were just going to leave the planet. That it was their own personal Independence Day. Was July 4th was probably the last of them that just got out of off the planet. Because when you look at that old reel, and it shows where it looks like, war of the worlds type of thing, but in black and white old time movie status, and it just looks like something that may have been just a fight just to be able to get who was ever left out. Maybe it was probably to get some of the anointed ones that were ruling North and South America, the caliphs, if you will, of this landmass, to get them out of here and to safety, so that their lives would not be taken. And so it was probably a fight to do that, because I would imagine that Satan and the demons would have were there attempting to get rid of them completely. I think they probably had lived long life, and so so they came, and what was left was the inhabitants and or their children that were left. So the Independence Day is probably not what we suspected, or not what we have been told it is today. That it is absolutely a lie, and we have maybe not so much as a have to. We haven't been really given the truth, and these people have been floating on a lie. And as it says that they got to be leaving the lie, and we believe the lie with them. And so the truth seems fantastical and unreal, like what? But no, now my eyes have been opened, and I have to consider that the white man and white woman, probably, especially the white man, never did a revolutionary war. The Revolutionary War was probably just the anointed having to fight their way off the planet. Having to fight their way off the planet. I'm going to try to see if I can get that name of that reel that you can see on like Instagram. You can see even on YouTube. My apologies for not being able to load it onto my stream here. I guess I'm not that tech savvy. Because truly, as a people, I don't think that white folks have demonstrated they're that brave. They usually go after people who are defenseless. They don't go after people that can actually meet their energy or even be better at it. So, yeah, and because they are the viceroys of Satan and the demons, yeah, it would stand to reason that those entities themselves will go up against the ones who built Tartaria, the ones who built things that these people cannot recreate. And matter of fact, not even Satan and the demons can recreate. Because if they could, they would have done it all along. But they can't even create. They don't have, Satan does not have power over the earth, and to be able to bend and maneuver the earth and the elements of the earth in the way that the black man and the black woman have been given. The earth has been bequeathed to us, not to them. It was the worlds that he was getting. I keep emphasizing that because that is so important to why the Lord's great army is going to be successful in their being able to tear down what the dominion of Satan, and to be able to subdue it. so that people can begin to get well and that the kingdom of Christ can actually manifest itself. It's already ruling, but manifesting means it becomes the new reality, the new dimension, right? So I just wanted to come in and say that the biggest lie of all is that they fought their way in, and that many white people are aware of that know their George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, whoever, Thomas Jefferson, they didn't do shit. They were just allowed to sail right on over here to a nation that had already gone through its war. And personally, and I'll state this one more time, I believe those ancient ones who were black and that beheaded were just basically trying to get out of here. And that the Most High had let them know that, he's coming. He's coming to take over this world too and to change it. And I'm allowing him to do it. You're not going to be able to take everyone. I'm not allowing you to, because they have to be judged. And what I mean by judged is that those white folks have to be judged. And so they had to fight their way out. Our ancient mothers and fathers had to fight their way out to leave the planet. I think we're really going to find out. Oh my goodness, that would be incredible. Wow. And I praise the Most High for illuminating that. It now falls into place, and it really shows up our captors as they are not as mighty as they have claimed. It has been the lie. Gosh, and it would make sense. It would make perfect sense, especially with the two creations that went on in the Bible. That is so key as to what is going on in the world today, and to really have that illuminated and to understand what that means is our freedom, right? So guess what, folks? Miana to Miana. That's why the angels have to come here. And that's why when that astronaut said, that NASA engineer, that old white man who has gone on into the grave, and I believe he will be resurrected back. There was two of them, and one of them said, if you ever looked at a people who had never been conquered, and he was talking about the black men, actually. Those were the soldiers that were going ham in order to get those ones out. And I believe that they did. I believe they were successful in getting them out, and getting out those anointed ones, or getting out the royal bloodlines out, the ancient mothers out of North and South America. But of course, there are a great number of us, the citizenry, were left for whatever reason. But the rest of us had to, our mothers and our grandfathers had to go into slavery. And I think it was mostly to test Europeans in the other part of the world, in Africa. It was to test them. And I'm here to say they failed the test. They failed it miserably. All right. Thank you for listening. So unhappy 4th of July. 4th of July. Thank you.